Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is the very first video of Declare Independence. I'm literally starting this channel right now because I felt really inspired. In fact, I'm even kind of getting emotional thinking about the election that just happened. My background a little bit, I've been raised in a very conservative household. I was Republican my entire life. I voted for Mitt Romney. I voted for John McCain. In 2016, I voted for Evan McMullen in the general election. The reason why I did is because I did not like either candidate. I felt that he actually had a legitimate chance to win electoral college votes in Utah, even though I live in California. And if there was a possibility that no one got to 270, maybe justice would prevail and he could be elected by the House. In this past election, I voted Republican down the ticket, and I chose to leave my vote for President blank. My wife is Australian, and she loves President Trump, and she would not let me leave it blank, and she filled in President Trump on the ticket. Now, you're looking at me. I'm definitely a very patriotic person, and I've never been politically active in my life. I look at things very sensibly. I don't know if I've ever voted for a Democratic candidate, but I certainly support some more liberal issues. I supported the measure on the California ballot to allow felons, once they've completed their term, to be able to vote again. That's just an opinion, and it did pass in California. You might disagree on whether that's fair or not. I personally feel that, I believe in Jesus Christ. If someone repents and pays restitution for something they've done wrong, they should get their rights restored, just like I would hope that my sins would be forgiven, right? So that's kind of how I feel about that. Enough about me. I just want you to know that what I'm about to say is not because of any political bias or because I'm in love with Donald Trump or that I believe in QAnon. I do not. I don't, any of those things. I don't love the president. I don't believe in QAnon. But as I watched the election, I felt like I was being deceived. And I don't know if you felt like that before, if you felt like you're being deceived, like what you're being told just wasn't true. And I felt that so much watching election night with my wife. We actually got out of town. I live in Orange County, and we were just a little bit nervous. We chose to just head up to rural Arizona, up in the mountains for a few days, just because it would be quiet, and just in case Trump won, it would be safe. So we watched, and it looked like Trump won by a landslide, and we just both talked to each other, and we felt like something just didn't smell right, where we felt that he wasn't going to be declared the winner, and something was going to happen. And we slowly started watching things. Now, I get it. Before we go into the deep end and try to say, well, that's because Trump literally told all of his supporters not to vote by mail, and Biden was telling all his supporters to vote by mail or any way possible. I still just didn't buy it that, yes, there would be more opposition to Trump than in times past. But I started looking at different states, and I'm not going to get into saying, oh, people, more than 100% of voter records in states voted. That's not true. That is based on old data, and especially in some states that are allowing same-day registration. So I'm not going to buy into that myth that more than 100% of people voted in certain states. That's not true. But an unreasonable amount, like I love statistics. I love statistics in high school about standard deviations. And you see, over the course of history, the United States between 55 to 65% over each election. Even in swing states, it never really jumps more than the high 60s. California will be a bit lower. I'm from California. It's got to be a bit lower because, and I don't know if that would necessarily mean that if we went by popular vote, if a lot more people in California would vote, especially conservatives, if they actually felt their vote mattered. I don't know. But swing states tend to have a little bit higher representation than other states. But it's never like what we've seen where Wisconsin had 90%, Arizona 90% voter turnout. That's just that just smells to me. It just doesn't smell right. I get that, they made it easier for people to vote. by mail, forcing, people that would normally not care enough about politics to even express their opinion or to go to a polling booth, forcing them to not even have an alternative where they could just fill out something and shove it in the mail. Obviously, that's going to lean blue. It's going to lean blue, because I feel like when a party tells people to vote by mail and the other party tells people not to vote by mail, that it's kind of clear how that's going to look. But I feel like something really dangerous is being done. And I listened to Patrick. I love Patrick Bet-David. I listened to a video that he just made today about how there are really three camps. There are people that really hate Trump. There weren't that many people who love Joe Biden, regardless of what they say. I lived in Los Angeles County. Now I live in Orange County. Over the past year, I've seen one Biden sign, one Biden bumper sticker, and one Biden flag. They were not together over the course of an entire year. So that's the kind of support. This is one of the bluest places in America, okay? And maybe my eyes were closed. I got a 35-minute commute to work. Trust me, there's lots of traffic, plenty of opportunity to see Biden stickers, Biden flags. They don't exist. They do not exist. So the level of support that he got, 75 plus million votes, absolutely thrashing President Obama's record, where President Obama was a widely popular person, both in charisma and in his speech. It made so much sense that he shattered records, especially facing McCain, who is kind of this clunky candidate. It made so much sense that Barack Obama won by a landslide and set voting records. That did not shock anyone. Okay, but there's still, I kid you not, there are more Obama bumper stickers, Obama 2012 bumper stickers on people's cars that I've seen over the past year than I have Biden 2020 stickers, okay? That is not an opinion, that is fact. That's how much he was loved and how the presence that he commanded that Biden did not. So being that's my firsthand account and not, just the kind of support that he gets in the bluest place in America, it smelled a little fishy when I saw his voting numbers come in, even given the data on people more likely to vote by mail and people to vote in person, okay? All that said, I listened to Patrick Bet-David. He said there are three kinds of people: people that love President Trump, just believe every QAnon post, everything that's, talking about voter fraud. People that, number two, second group, people that hate President Trump and love President Biden and love every meme, every meme making fun of the president, every talk show host making fun of the president, laugh at every recycled joke about the president. And then there's the third party, which I've always felt that I've been in, is the president doesn't help me get a job. He doesn't help me learn new skills. He doesn't pay my checks, even though Trump did kind of give me $1,200 that I wasn't asking for this year. And he certainly doesn't help me individually progress or stand in front of me and protect me from getting laid off from a job or this, that, and the other. Okay, the president does not do that. It's my role and responsibility, regardless of Mickey Mouse as my president, to do everything in my power to step forward. However, even though that's the kind of person I am, and this is someone I can unequivocally tell you I did not vote for Biden or Trump, okay, that we are being deceived. We're being deceived. I'm not sure if there will be, the burden of proof will come in the courts, and I'm not one to prescribe to every phony thing, that there. Listen, Biden won Michigan by 150,000 to vote, 150,000 votes. So finding 1,400 dead people that voted in Michigan, even though you don't know, you can't prove who they voted for, right? There could have been a certain percentage that may have voted for Trump. We don't know. We like to think that the conservatives are on the side of truth and righteousness and would never do that, but you don't know that for sure. I do know that in California, I received a mail-in ballot in Orange County that I specifically didn't ask for, and then my father, who lives in El Dorado County, up in Northern California, also received a mail-in ballot for me, even though I'm not registered there. My brother, who lives in Michigan, who's lived there for 5 years, who votes in Michigan, received a mail-in ballot there. And my sister, who lives in Southern California, also received a mail-in ballot in Northern California. So again, this is anecdotal, but this is my own personal story. So my dad's like, I could send all these votes in the mail and go vote in person for myself and for other people. But obviously, you know, we come from a family that wouldn't do that. But you see that there is just so much, just from the anecdotal story, there is so much room for something to happen. Is it enough in states like Michigan, where they say there's 6,000 votes switched? Is it enough to swing an election? That will remain to be seen. You know, it's one thing to cry fraud, but it's another thing to cry that the election was stolen from you. And we'll only know that if there is enough evidence, and the burden of proof lies on the one bringing forth the case, right? The side that's won doesn't have to prove that whether or not fraud was committed. You would have to prove enough fraud was committed against you to warrant the election being changed. Here's my thoughts. I've heard a lot about, and this is why you came to the video in the first place. And I encourage you to subscribe to this video, because you're going to probably hear one of the only nonpartisan opinions that you'll get out there. I want to talk about the QFS Watermark, and if that's legitimate. We're kind of all waiting to see what's going to happen. When I heard it, it sounded different than a lot of the QAnon stuff, and the reason why, you know, that's the first thing when you start Googling the QFS Watermark or Watermark ballot, the first thing comes up is like debunked QAnon theory. The reason why it's so different, and this is why I never got behind QAnon. Even I have friends that think it's like the truest thing, and like you could debunk half the stuff in the QAnon videos with a 5-minute Google search. Not to say the principles aren't true about pedophiles and things like that, but the facts are, you know, being purported by people that don't exist. You never see their face, you never hear their name. The difference is, in the QFS Watermark thing, I've seen 2 videos now of reputable people who worked on administrations who have a lot to lose by being found out to be complete liars and frauds, who have an actual reputation by coming out and not only supporting the president, right, putting your face as an independent person, not in politics, putting your face and your brand on the line, but also your integrity by claiming that you have inside information on blockchain watermark theories that have not been proven. They haven't even been suggested by the president or Rudy Giuliani or anyone in Congress has suggested that there's a day of reckoning coming. But I believe that it could be true. This is where I kind of put my integrity on the line, because I see that is the way that Trump could have gamed the system. And if you look at some of the evidence, I hate InfoWars. And the reason why I hate InfoWars is because they make every person that believes that there could be something off in the government look like an idiot, because 4 times out of 5, it's just a lie. It's just made up. But every once out of 5, they come up with something good, like Alex Jones and the Bohemian Grove. Absolutely true, right? 100% true. But because 4 times out of 5, it's foolishness, it's easy to cast it off as wrong. But on their website, they linked to the government website where in 2018, when no one really was paying attention, no one knew, 2018, Trump did in fact sign an executive order that allowed the Department of Homeland Security to work alongside all 50 states in the election process. Now remember, the Department of Homeland Security does not print the ballots. The ballots in California are different than the ballots in Texas and the ballots in Pennsylvania. They're all different. However, Department of Homeland Security was, by executive order that went unseen by anyone, was allowed to oversee the election process. What does that mean? And you can look this up. I hate that I would even tell somebody to go to InfoWars website, but if you look up the blockchain stuff on InfoWars website, there's actually hyperlinks to real, actual government sites and government documents. Okay, so, but I would say I would say in the future, probably don't use them as your first source. However, they're the only people that have broke this story at all, that have any type of following. Okay. I started reading this book a few days ago. This book is from the 1970s. There's a foreword by John Schmitz, who actually ran for president in 1972. He President Nixon did not get along. They were from the same congressional district in Orange County, right? This guy was from San Clemente, I believe. The first like 5 pages come off like something you'd hear on an Alex Jones show. And then got to this page, and I just want to read part of it. Right there at the top, it says, "We repeat FDR's statement. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way." And so this chapter is talking about socialism, communism. And then at the bottom, it says, "Then we ask our interviewees, since you say we are not a socialist, since you say you're not a socialist, but you feel the country is being socialized, what? No, remember, this is from the 1970s. Why don't you do something about it?" His response will run, "I'm only one person, but it's inevitable. You can't fight City Hall, hey, hey, hey. Don't you know that the boys down at City Hall are doing everything they can to convince you of that? How effectively can you oppose anything if you feel your opposition is futile? Giving your opponent the idea that defending himself is futile is as old as warfare itself. In about 500 BC, the Chinese warlord philosopher Sun Tzu," this is Art of War that they actually talk about in the video, which is kind of what made me feel prompted to make this video. I just started reading this book. "Supreme excellence in warfare lies in the destruction of your enemy's will to resist in advance of perceptible hostilities. We call it psy-war or psychological warfare today. But in poker, it is called running a good bluff. The principle is the same." So as someone who, and this is where this is why I made this video, right? So if you never read this book, this is a cool, really cool book. None dare call it a conspiracy. It's talking about not only how communism is a threat to America, but how financial capitalism is also a threat. And what is financial capitalism? It's a debt-based system that we're in right now. Our currency is based on absolutely nothing, but we have fiat currency that the government can just print trillions more. We save it in our bank accounts, but yet it has no value. Like we view it as something scarce, but that the government can continue to replicate. Whereas, even if you had you used all your money to buy 500 used bicycles and kept them in your backyard, you're going to have more spending power 10 years from now than if you just kept your cash in your bank account that's getting 0.01% interest a year, right? Because you'll be able to sell those bikes for, if you buy a used bike for 100 today, you'll be able to sell it for 150 in 10 years, right? It's not going to lose value. But anyways, I digress. At the end where he says it's the same as running a good bluff, and I played a lot of poker growing up. And one thing, if you play a lot of Hold'em, if you ever played Hold'em before, if you're going to bluff, you have to bluff all the way to the end. And that's what's tricky, is because the more you bluff, the more it costs you if you back out of the bluff. Okay. Let's say I get a hand that I don't like, but I get pocket cards that I think might be all right, and the flop comes, I don't hit. And I know if I bet pre-flop, people suspect that I have something, and if they call, I expect they have something. So the flop comes out, I bet to just see where my enemy's at. My enemy calls me, right? So now we go to the turn, and I still don't hit. But I don't feel real confident that he feels that confident about his hand, because he would have raised me. This is where I have to bet larger. I have to keep running the bluff in order to make it to the end. And if he calls me there, I have really one of two choices. I can back out and check the river, which would effectively lose the hand if I haven't hit anything and he's calling me. He wouldn't call me with a bluff. He would only raise me with a bluff. Okay. Or I have to go all in on the river. I have to go all in on the river and hope that I can scare my opponent away. And so when you see things like Trump being up 13%, 14% in Michigan before the night started, 4 a.m, all the ballots come in, and him not lose by the razor-thin margin like he did in Wisconsin, where he only lost Wisconsin by 20,000, but he lost Michigan by 150,000. That, to me, it just seemed more like the anecdotal stuff about, Aunt Betty died in 1947 and she voted. That is small potatoes. We need to get away from that. When you lose by 150,000 votes, you're not going to find 150,000 dead people that voted. And that's not what this is about. This isn't about the small potatoes. They need to clean the voter rolls. This is, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. And I will, if Joe Biden won this election fair and square, because people that normally wouldn't ever vote were given a ballot, all they had to do is put it in their mailbox, and they don't like Trump, and it's way easier to do that than go stand in the line for 4 hours. I'll fair and square say that Joe Biden is my president. I will support him. I'll pray for him, just the same way I did for President Trump. I will pray for him that he makes good decisions for my nation. But I believe I believe that the blue team went all in on the river this year. And the reason why I believe that is because the level, you just can't believe, and I'll show the meme right here. It's really difficult for me to believe that the guy with 12 people at his rally sitting in white circles compared to the guy getting 50,000 people at his rallies on the regular. It's just hard for me to believe that the level of support was that much that they would not only help him beat President Trump, but set an all-time record for votes by what is it? Obama was 69,000? 6 million more people voted for Sleepy Joe. I didn't expect Trump to win, but I didn't expect what I saw on November 4th either. I didn't expect that at all. I just didn't expect it. And when you see that Trump got legitimately 70 million votes, I don't think they were expecting that either. I don't think they were expecting to need to cheat. They already did their work with the polls, and they thought that might have been enough to discourage people. And then you saw what happened in Florida. Now, I think it's really easy. Cubans are acutely aware of this kind of stuff. They're acutely aware of this kind of stuff. They're not about to stand for anything close that even smells like socialism. And so it's easy to get all those people to support you. And I don't think that they expected that their agenda would be rejected by as many people as it was. And so they thought they might have a chance at Texas. And if they're thinking that we have a chance to win Texas, we don't really need to cheat. But we're going to save this stuff just in case, right? I don't think they thought they were going to need to cheat. That's my opinion. I think they thought they were going to win fair and square like the other 95% of us did. I'm making this video to let you know that if you feel that you were deceived and you feel like people are just ragging on you because you're what are they? I don't even know what they call them. Trump supporters anymore. Trumpeters, Trumpsters, maggots. I would suggest that you turn off the media for a while and just let things marinate. And I can assure you, if the QFS blockchain conspiracy turns out to be fact, Trump knows exactly how this is going to play out. That's why he's been rather quiet. He's not holding press conferences, nothing. I think this is the time where you let your opponents sink themselves. Let them run their victory laps, right? Then you come in for the kill, if it's true. And I read Joshua chapter 6 today about the Israelites circling the walls of Jericho. And it doesn't say this. This is an interpolation of scripture, but it doesn't say this. But you can almost assume that the people inside the mighty city that might have had access to the top of the wall, watching the Israelites going around. Once it says they went around every day, once a day for 6 days. And on the seventh day, they went around 7 times. You can imagine, just envision your mind, you and your them yelling at you from the top of the wall. You and your stupid sky man think that you're going to come in and take our city. Even though they were afraid. They were actually afraid of the Israelites, probably more in number than in terms of weaponry or military tactic. They were afraid, probably due to the greatness of their number, but they felt protected inside their city. And how dumb you would have felt. Here you are, just walking around, getting mocked from the top of the wall, and And on the seventh day, they were told to shout, and they all shouted, and the walls came down. And when the walls came down, they went in and they were commanded to slash every man, woman, child, animal, and leave nothing, except there was the harlot harlot and her family that stored the spies that are stored, that house the spies. I think more so there would be someone that would have a testimony of the things that happened. It wasn't just the winning team, right? And there will be, in order for this to hold up in court, I promise you, as sure as I'm an American, that it's not going to be because they can convince, like most cases where you grant enough doubt. Well, we found 1,400 dead people. Maybe there were 40,000 of them. We just haven't got to them yet. That's not going to hold up. You're not going to win an election like that. The only way is if there is actually legitimate proof of tens of thousands of harvested ballots that were not supposed to be put into the system. And we're not going to know that unless this is the only way. None of this, like this litigation about illegal ballots brought in here or there, that's not going to win the election. The only chance that we have is if Teflon Don in 2018 saw what may happen or had, whispers that it may have happened in 2016 or may have happened during the primaries in 2018 or is going to, and made sure that it would never happen again to the American people. We're not going to know. Right now, it's strictly speculation. And I really don't have any skin in the game, right? Because... Sorry, I've been sick the last 3 days. For all I know, I might have corona. Who knows? I've been on vacation. I just want to say that as someone who, I feel like I'm a pretty independent voice, because living in California, and I've actually lived all over the country. I lived in Tennessee, lived in Florida growing up, lived in South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, Utah, Connecticut. I've lived in Australia. So I've been around. The country is not... Like, I promise you, not every red idea is a good idea. Not every red idea is a bad idea. Same thing with the blue team. There are a lot of things that I really like about living in California. A lot of principles that are good. I think our politicians are crooked and corrupt. Case in point, if anyone's from California wants to comment on this, the light rail. Remember when they raised our sales tax a half cent to build a bullet train from San Francisco to LA? I voted for that when I was 18. I'm 34 now. Okay, I haven't seen one stretch of that being built. And the reason why, they moved all that money from the bullet train fund to the general fund, which can be pulled for any project. Okay, and that's the product of people in power thinking that they're better and smarter than the people that voted for them. And so no, I don't think that the best interest of the American people is being done. I think there are some very powerful people who intend to change the course of American history, and Trump is standing in their way. As someone who has tried to watch from a distance at the president, he has done some really good things. If he would have deleted his Twitter 3 years ago, he would have already been elected, but we know that ain't gonna happen. Anyways, guys, I'll come back with more. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And no hateful things. I don't care who you voted for. No hateful things. I want only the truth. I want only the truth. I don't want conspiracies. I don't want opinions. I only want facts. Facts are the only things that matter to me. So if you're not coming with the facts, just wait until the facts come out. And if the facts show that Sleepy Joe won fair and square, then Sleepy Joe is going to be my president for, the next 6 months until Kamala takes the reins. No, I'm just playing. But seriously, like, I'll support whoever won fair and square, even if it's not who I wanted to win. But I think that we've been cheated. So with that, I'm out.